Imagine a world where the ocean isn't just a horizon but a predator. For Violet Jessop, the sea was both her livelihood and her greatest threat. Some called her lucky, others thought she was a curse. But in the early 1900s, being a survivor was the only thing that mattered. Before the grand ships, she was already fighting for air. As a child, she was told she wouldn't survive a bout of tuberculosis. Doctors gave her months, but she gave herself decades. That stubbornness was her first shield against the inevitable. By 1911, Violet had found her place as a stewardess. She was working on the RMS Olympic, the largest civilian liner in the world at the time. It was a floating palace, a marvel of steel and steam. It felt untouchable. On September 20th, the air was crisp as the Olympic sailed near the Isle of Wight. Suddenly, a massive British warship, the HMS Hawke, veered off course. The collision was violent, a scream of tearing metal that shook the very foundation of the ship. Violet felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. She watched as water rushed into the gashed hull. The Olympic was crippled, but it didn't go down. It was a warning, a rehearsal for the tragedy that was waiting in the shadows. She returned to land shaken but undeterred. When White Star Line offered her a position on a new, even grander ship, her friends urged her to take it. It was a sister ship to the Olympic. Its name was the Titanic. Violet didn't want to go. She had a bad feeling about the Unsinkable ship, but the wages were good, and she had a family to support. So she packed her bags and stepped into history. The first 4 days were a dream of luxury. Violet tended to the needs of the wealthy in first class, moving like a ghost through the gilded corridors. But the night of April 14th changed everything. The air turned biting, unnaturally still. When the iceberg struck, it wasn't a bang. It was a faint shudder, a sound like silk tearing. Violet was in her bunk, almost asleep. She knew that sound. She had heard it before on the Olympic. She was ordered onto the deck, not to be saved, but to be a symbol. The officers wanted the women who spoke no English to see the stewardesses remaining calm. If Violet looked brave, maybe the others wouldn't panic. She watched as Lifeboat 16 was lowered into the black abyss. At the last second, an officer handed her a bundle. It was a baby. No name, no explanation. Just a life to hold on to as she dropped toward the freezing water. From the water, the Titanic didn't look like a palace anymore. It looked like a dying beast. The lights flickered and then went out, leaving only the sound of the ocean and the screams of those left behind. Violet held the baby tighter. The Carpathia arrived with the dawn. On its deck, a woman rushed toward Violet and snatched the baby away without a single word. No thank you. No look of gratitude. Just the cold reality of shock. Anyone else would have never stepped on a boat again. But the sea was in Violet's blood. When World War I broke out, she traded her stewardess apron for a nurse's uniform. She joined the Red Cross. She was assigned to the HMHS Britannic. It was the third sister, the last of the great trio. It had been converted into a hospital ship, a sanctuary for the wounded coming back from the Mediterranean. On November 21st, 1916, the Key Channel was peaceful. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the ship, a deep, guttural boom that sent a pillar of water into the sky. They had hit a mine. The Britannic was sinking much faster than the Titanic. The captain tried to beach the ship, but the movement only forced more water into the hull. The massive propellers were still spinning, and they were rising out of the water. Violet realized she couldn't wait for a lifeboat this time. The ship was being sucked down. She grabbed her toothbrush, her most prized possession after the Titanic, and jumped. She hit the water with a bone-chilling impact. The current dragged her toward the spinning propellers. She watched as other lifeboats were chopped to splinters by the massive blades. She closed her eyes and felt herself being pulled under. Then a blow to the head. She thought she was dead, but as her lungs screamed for air, a hand grabbed her. She was pulled into a boat, gasping and bleeding. She had survived a third disaster. The unsinkable Violet Jessop had done it again. Years later, Violet was an old woman living in a small cottage. The phone rang. A voice on the other end asked if she was the woman who saved a baby on the Titanic. When she said yes, the caller laughed and said, "I was that baby." She never found out who that caller was. Some say it was a prank, but for Violet, it was the final piece of her story. She didn't just survive for herself. She survived to keep the memory of the sea alive. Violet Jessop lived to the age of 83. She died in her bed, far from the salt and the waves. The woman who the ocean couldn't claim finally found her peace. Her legacy remains a testament to the iron will of the human spirit. How does someone endure so much tragedy and keep going? Perhaps it's because Violet knew that every day above water is a gift. Her story isn't just about shipwrecks, it's about the refusal to sink. She saw the best and worst of humanity in those freezing waters, the courage of those who stayed, and the luck of those who left. In the end, Violet Jessop was more than a survivor. She was a witness to an era that the sea tried to erase. Her life reminds us that even when the world feels like it's tilting, even when the lights go out, there is always a reason to keep swimming, always a reason to hold on to the baby in our arms, whatever form it may take. Good night, Violet. Her memoirs, written decades later, reveal a woman of wit and grace. She never played the victim. She spoke of the crew as her family and the ships as her homes, even the ones that broke apart. Think of the sheer statistics. To be present at all 3 of the Olympic-class accidents is almost impossible. To walk away from all 3? That is a miracle that defies logic. In her later years, she loved her garden. She said the soil was reliable. It didn't shift or pull you under. But she always kept a small picture of the Titanic on her mantle, a reminder of the night the world changed. We often focus on the tragedy of the sinking, the loss of life, and the hubris of man. But Violet's story is the counterpoint. It is the story of life continuing, of the stewardess who went back to work because she had to. Her thick auburn hair had been her pride. After the Britannic jump, she suffered from headaches for years. Only much later did a doctor discover she had actually fractured her skull in the water. She had survived for decades with a broken head. The ocean is vast and its secrets are many. But it couldn't keep Violet. She was the one who got away. 3 times over. A true queen of the sea, in her own quiet, resilient way. Rest in peace, Miss Unsinkable. Your story will never be forgotten as long as the waves hit the shore. Next time you face a storm, remember her. Remember that you are built to float. You are built to survive. The end of one journey is just the beginning of another. Until next time.